Let's stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm going to do roll call. Verna? Here. Jay? Here. Heather? Yep. And me, I'm here. Cheryl and Susan are absent with notice. And approval of the agenda. It is approved, stands approved if no corrections. Approval of the minutes. Actually, I found a correction. 10.1, the spelling of dissolved, dissolved, it should be dissolved.
Yeah, yes, yes.
In the minutes. Do you see that, Kathleen? Okay.
Madam President, could I make a change
Yes.
as well? 9.4, where it has the motion, instead of using the first names, use the last names. For Heather, for sure.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
For consistency. Or first initial, last name.
Motion to approve corrections.
I'll second.
So moved.
Okay.
I abstain.
Okay, that's right, you were here. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Call to audience. Yes?
Hi, I'm John Crockett. I had one recommendation or discussion point. I know at the last meeting there was a approval of a project being done in the library. And I know on the agenda this time there's some work to be done in the parking lot. I don't know if the board has a set of criteria or things to consider when they're hiring a contractor. If not, I recommend that you do, other than just the price, years in business, experience with a particular project, or experience with the project in a library setting, if that's appropriate. And then, beyond that, some due diligence, background checks, credit checks on the vendor, just to make sure we're dealing with someone who's qualified and able to do the work and has no history of issues. Dun & Bradstreet is a good source for a credit check. We tell you if they have suits and judgments against them, indicating some issues with prior work. The one thing that jumped out at me with the contractor last time was their invoice number was 1001, which often would lead me to believe, or could lead you to believe, it's their first quote. Could be a variety of other reasons that that's the contract number, the quote number, but that's my recommendation if it's not something already being done by the board.
Thank you. Anyone else? Call to audience. Okay, I believe now we need to set up for the audit. Yes. Should we move?
Well, obviously,
Yeah.
the screen is moved.
Hello everyone, are you able to hear me?
Hi.
Yes.
Yes. You hear us okay?
Yep, I can.
Great.
So, is it my time to start going through the audit, or
Yeah.
waiting on it?
Yes.
It is.
Yes, go ahead.
Go ahead and start.
Okay, awesome. So I believe you all should have a copy of the audit, or a draft audit in front of you, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So if you open up to the first page, it's a few pages in, but it is page number 1. It is the independent auditor's report. If you look at the opinion section, it's the first 2 paragraphs. If we were to read that, it would be the wording or the verbiage for an unmodified or a clean opinion. So it's the best opinion that the library could have received. There's nothing that Kathleen or anyone on the board or Laura could have done better to get a better opinion. And so in essence, everybody passed the audit. So kudos to everybody involved. So that's the opinion. If you go a few more pages down to page 4, now I'm just gonna go through the financial highlights and kind of the changes between the 2022 and 23 audit. And if anybody has any questions as I'm going through this, feel free to interrupt me. I'm more than happy to answer any questions. But page 4. Is somebody...
Nope, you're good. Nope, you're good.
Okay,
Sorry. Sorry.
Okay. The financial highlights section, the first bullet point, the assets of the library exceeded its liabilities and deferred inflows at the close of the fiscal year by about 3.9 million, a little bit under that. That's shown as that position or the amount of equity that you have in the library, assets over liabilities. Of that 3.9, about 1 million, a little bit over that, is unrestricted, meaning it's unrestricted net position. It can be used for anything that the library has going on. The difference between the 3.9 and the 1 million is largely made up of your capital assets, in the sense that it's very hard to sell a building really quickly and turn that into cash to spend, so we don't consider that type of stuff unrestricted. The second bullet point, the library received about 1.36 million, a little over 1.3 million in revenues, and incurred 1.2, a little bit under that in expenses, leading to an increase in your net position, meaning excess revenues over expenses of about 180,000. A little bit under that. The general fund, the third bullet point, decreased its fund balance by about 100,000. And you'll notice that there is a little bit of difference between the second bullet point and the third one, just due to the differences in the accounting that is done for the general fund versus your other statements. Anyway, so your general fund decreased its fund balance by about 100,000, a little bit over that. So it had an ending fund balance of about 1 million, a little bit over that, and we went over this with the finance committee before, but the large reason for the decrease in your fund balance was due to the spending of your, or improving of your parking lot, and therefore you had a pretty significant expense during the year. The cost of the parking lot was about $370,000. If you look at your third bullet point, your unassigned fund balance, or sorry, fourth bullet point, the unassigned fund balance in your general fund was about $630,000, a little bit over that, which equates to about 43% of your general fund expenditures. What that means is if you receive no income for the next fiscal year, you'd survive about 43% of it. So it's a sizable fund balance where you're probably not going to have any cash issues if for some reason your revenues didn't come in, but you also don't have too much fund balance where you're just sitting on a bunch of money that you don't know what you're doing with it. And it's become very obvious to me that the board is very cognizant of how the library is using its funds, which is nice to see from an audit perspective. And then the fifth bullet point, the board's committed about $400,000 of its fund balance for future capital projects. So, 2 more pages down to page 6. This is your statement of net position. It shows your assets and your liabilities and equity and the changes between the 2 years. The largest change during the year was your capital assets. You added a fair bit to your capital assets, largely due to your the parking lot project, and for that reason it increased about 280,000. when you offset that with the depreciation expense that came out. That was your main change. Year over year, your cash increased a little bit, but nothing else really jumped out at me. It was pretty similar to the prior years as well as this year. You go down another page to page 7. This is your statement of changes in that position. It shows your revenues and your expenses, and it kind of breaks it down a little bit into the various revenues you have: charge for services, operating grants. Your largest revenue is your property taxes, as you know. And then just due to the market this year, your interest and market returns had a pretty significant increase. So you had about $50,000 more this year in interest revenue than previous years. And then your expenses increased or decreased a little bit, which was largely, as we found, to be due to your wages and your fringe benefits. They took up about 60% of the decrease, and then the other parts are kind of spread out among all the different areas. Page 8, if you look at the bottom page, I just wanted to point out that the library was completely within its budget, and there were no budget exceptions in the sense that you spent more than what you thought you were going to. And that, again, shows that the library's board, as well as management, is very cognizant of what the library is spending its money on. So it's not uncommon for a library to have a lot of budget exceptions, so it's nice to see that you don't. And then page 11 all the way through page 15 are your basic financial statements. Page 13 and 15 are your general fund financial statements, and it shows your general fund specifically with a little bit more detail. But it's largely similar to what we just went over, so I won't go too much into that. But beyond that, I didn't have much else to go over. As far as I can tell, the audit went very well. And so, were there any questions you had over the audit or anything on the audit report?
Hi, Ian. This is Jay Taylor. The report indicated that there were no disagreements with management, which is always a good sign. And looks like, good fiscal management on the part of our library director and her team. Did you feel like you've got full cooperation from the team this year in terms of what you needed and when you needed it?
Oh, yeah, every year. I feel like every year it gets better and better to the point of where we understand what you're looking for and you understand what we're looking for. And so it just seems like every year it just gets better.
Okay, thanks very much.
Ian, just a quickie, how many years have you personally done Brandon's audit?
I think I started in 2020. So that the COVID year, like March 21 was probably when we did your fiscal year 20 audit, and I think that's the first time. So it's been 4 years about. That's when I started doing the actual auditing itself, and now this year I've been more of the reviewer and had other people do a lot of the auditing. I think Isaac worked with you a fair bit this year. So I've been on Brandon's audit for 4 or so years.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? I think that's it.
Well, Jim, thank you so much for coming to the meeting today and for doing such a great job on the audit. We really appreciate it, and we're happy that we were able to renew the contract for 3 years with your company. So, thanks.
Yeah, I'm happy that you also are. I didn't know that we had renewed, so I'm happy to hear that. It's always nice working on your audit.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you so much.
Yep. All right. Have a great evening, everyone.
You too.
Thank you.
Yep. Bye.
Thank you, Shauna.
You're welcome.
It does have to be approved.
This is an action item, so I need a motion.
I move that we accept the 2023 audit report from Beavers and Company as written.
Second?
Okay, and this is this money? So we have to go one by one. Verna?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Heather?
Yes.
And me, yes. Motion passes. All right, so we're all set for another year, and we're ready for the director's report.
Okay, you have a written report. We have signed, well, we haven't really signed. We've agreed with Laser Lines to do the parking lot. They are waiting because the weather has been just all over the place. So I did ask them to wait till after the garage sale too. So that will probably happen like mid-May. And they can do it Saturday after we close, and it'll be ready by Monday morning. So we won't have to close off the parking lot for anything. Let's see. The door counter went out, the wiring went weird, so we had to have some wiring replaced on the door counter. So that was out for about 2 weeks. It is back up and running now. And the usual stuff. Any questions for me?
Verna?
I'm
Okay.
sorry. I had just one.
Go ahead.
The advocacy day, what did you think?
It was interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the first time I've gone. It was very nice to meet with our senator. We met with Ruth Johnson, which was very nice. It was an interesting day. I was glad the weather was nice because it was a lot of outside stuff. But it was just nice to network and meet people. Yeah, that was good.
It's scary.
They did have bookmobiles. They had a whole row.
Now
a
wait,
row
I
full
thought.
of bookmobiles. That was really neat
It
to
was.
see.
Okay, good.
Verna?
No comment.
Okay. Jay?
I know with respect to laser lines or other work that you contract for, you've got a pretty robust process for looking into the vendors and what the reputation is. I know you've got a whole network of library directors that also give you feedback. So you're not going to go out and select someone that's not been proven in the past. So I just want to say, continue the good work in that regard, and the Finance Committee in particular appreciates the work that you guys do in that regard.
Thank you.
Okay, and I have a question. What was the slight repair to the alcove?
Oh, there was the header board that, I don't know if it was really trim. There was a header board up inside the top of the alcove, the trim of the alcove that was sagging.
Oh,
So he had to repair that before they could.
before they could put the doors on.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you. Trustee reports. Jay, did you have an FOL report?
In my head,
Okay, that's fine.
here I did a finance report for you and neglected to put together
That's
everything in
okay.
writing. But
We might have helpers here.
okay, that would be great. The FOL has a lot of activities going on. They have a very, very healthy cash balance. And I'm going to defer to others in the room that were also at that meeting for more of the details.
They weren't there.
I was unable to.
Okay,
attend.
well,
I guess that's going
yeah, so
They're doing well.
they're doing well, and I did give a short update on what the board was doing. I mentioned the strategic plan and some other kinds of things like that, so
Thank you.
apologize for
No problem.
slipping through the cracks.
No problem. Okay, Heather, did you want to talk about evaluations?
Yes, so on page 41, 42, and 43, it is time to start the trustee evaluation once more for this year. So you will notice page 41, these are the same questions that we did last year. So this is just a, take a look at it, let me know if there's anything that you want to change or that doesn't sit right, or, you know, any of those kinds of things. So page 41, this page is meant to be a self-checklist, so I will go through it, each of these questions, check off completely, mostly, partially, not at all. And then there will be one comment section at the very bottom, so that if there's something you want to comment on. This information may or may not be shared. It's more of a gauge to see what kind of training we think that the board needs to do, or that kind of thing. So that's the first page. Page 42 and 43 is more of the meat of the evaluation of the board as a whole, how we're all working together, those kinds of things. So this one, you don't need to comment on every single question, but there will be a comment section on each question so that we can expand if we need to. So, any questions on that for now? Any changes or anything, just go ahead and email to me and let me know.
Okay. And
So-
this is going to be on, sorry.
Yes, it will be online, okay, yeah.
Good job.
Yeah, I thought it was very well done.
Thank you.
And do we have a date, or right now we're just looking?
Right now, we're looking at the questions. We'll bring it back next month if there are any updates or anything, and we'll approve the questions at that time.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, financial officers report.
Okay, take a look at page 14, which is our check register for the month. I don't know if there's any questions there. You can see in the middle of the page on March 20, we paid the annual audit fee. That's been taken care of. And then lower down near the end, we've got Handyman Lake Orion with deposit on the study room doors. Any questions or comments on the check register? Let's go on to page 45 then, our balance sheet. I think, Kathleen, we're still working at the bottom there where it says equity committed fund balance. That's $400,000. And I understood Ian or someone was going to send information on how to move that into equity or something like that. So that's the only thing I noticed.
Yes, we did not make any of the audit adjustments until you guys approved the audit. So
Got
they
it.
will be
Thank you.
reflected next month.
Okay. Any questions on page 45? Okay. Page 46, 47, 48 is the income statement on a cash basis. So there's no, accounts receivable, accounts payable, accrual type things there. Are there any questions or concerns about that?
I have one quick question. On the professional services, we're at 63%. Now, I know that...
Page 47?
Yes, page 47, sorry, 14, professional services. I know that the auditing is in there in the IT contract and that those are paid all at one time. So that is the reflection of that, I assume? Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing
Exactly.
something there. Okay, thank you.
It looks like on page 46 near the bottom there's some uncategorized expenses. So those will be put into categories then for next month.
Okay, thank you.
Sometimes that happens where all the accounting's not done. Okay, any other questions or comments? If not, I'd like to ask the board to approve our expenses for the month of March in the amount of $91,427.08.
So moved.
Second.
Yes.
Okay. Berna?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Heather?
Yes.
Okay, and me, so motion passes. Thank you, Jay. Expenses are approved. Okay, committee reports. The ad hoc board training right now is still tabled because our next and last thing to review for this year is Robert's Rules. And we're still working on that, right, Shauna? Okay, thank you. All right, policies. Laura?
Coming back this month that we looked at last month is the social media policy and the photo, video, audio release form that went to the attorney. She added the paragraph in red under general regulations. She expanded on what we already had there, so that is from her. And then the only other change she made was to strike under E1 the words "or abusive speech." But otherwise, she left it as we had edited it.
Any questions? Okay.
Motion to approve?
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, the photo.
Was that for both, or was that?
That's
No.
just for the
Okay, so.
The photo, video, audio release form, she said it was perfect as we adjusted it, and she had no changes.
Motion to approve?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that passes also. Okay, we are back again to finance. Who wants to do it?
Oh, this has been through the attorney, correct?
Oh, we're on Finance Committee.
Finance Committee.
Oh, this has been just through the finance committee. Okay, so we brought this to you last month, and as I understood them, the changes were on page 54.
You're talking about bylaws.
Yeah, we're
Do you have a
still on
finance report?
finance, not on bylaws
Oh,
yet.
boy, getting ahead of myself a little
Yep,
bit.
that's okay.
So the finance committee met on April 15th. We reviewed the draft financial report. There were no more changes presented at that meeting. All the changes that we had given to Gaybridge had been pulled through. We again discussed the capital budget and recommended some updates to that. So we'll have another meeting of finance in May. We'll review hopefully the final draft of the budget for the next many months, and then bring it to the board in May to review it. We had been going back and forth on the capitalization policy. We had an internal one that we tried to modify, but it turns out that our attorney had one that other libraries apparently use. That was sent to Laura. Laura shared it with the committee. The committee went through line by line, excruciatingly, and marked it up. And I guess the next step is it's gone back to the attorney or gone to Gaybridge to look at.
Mhm.
There are some things in there about depreciation and useful lives of assets and things like that. We want to make sure that Gaybridge agrees with that, or that agrees with our standard practice. Also, we're recommending a change in accounting policy that we'll bring to the board to discuss next month. But basically, it's raising the level of capitalization. What's that dollar level before you have to put it as a fixed asset on your books? So we'll be talking about that next month. Then we also discussed other items. We went through some bids on the parking lot marking, and Laura has covered that in her report. So that's it. Any questions?
Okay, now we can get to the bylaws. Jay, that's you again.
Now we're back to page 53. So on page 54, we had, apparently one of the links didn't work last month. And it looks like section 5, is that added, Laura?
By the attorney.
By the attorney. So on page 54, section 5, under Article 3, membership, it says individual authority. Board members have no authority as individuals, apart from that specified in the bylaws or applicable law, but rather exercise their authority collectively with library board actions. So I see no issue with that. That makes a lot of sense to me personally. We're asking for approval of this tonight. However, I noticed when I tried to use the links, they didn't seem to work, like the Act 154 on page 53, or 164 on page 53. The ethics statement no longer works, and the Open Meetings Act links on page 57 didn't work. So maybe this is just a version for us to look at. It's not the one that we're going to put into our library. But if we can get those links fixed, that would be good. Does anyone have any questions or suggested changes?
Yes, Vernon, do you have any comments or questions?
No.
Heather? I did find a typo on page 54, Article 3, Section 2, last sentence. This appointment must be made B. I mean, that just has to come out, or is it supposed to be a word there?
As soon as possible, yes.
Okay, so it should be as. Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Okay, that was it for me. And where are we putting the appendices? Have we made that decision?
Yeah, so it made a lot of sense to put them on our shared drive and take them out of here, because they're more of a tool for us to use. It's not something we have to have a hard and fast, following that it's really, when that topic comes up, to kind of pull those from the shared drive and use them as a way to work through, whether it's orientation or other kinds of topics.
Okay.
They're no longer in here.
Okay, thank you. This is an action item, so we need a motion.
Move to approve the board bylaws as amended.
And a second. I guess that's you, Verna.
Yeah.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We are already, wow, we didn't have any communication that I'm aware of. Unfinished business, we have the job description, library director. What page are we on for that?
60.
60.
So I brought this is, again, this is the board's job description. But I was asked to renumber things in a way that made more sense priority-wise in my job. I also decided, I did ask, I decided that it might be nice to divide it into different categories. So I did break it up into board relations, library administration, fiscal management, community development and advocacy, and facilities management. So it's the same job description, just formatted a little bit differently. I did add the things that were asked to be added by the board last meeting on 62, the financial reporting, and
Page 61, under fiscal management, meeting with the external auditor.
yeah, meeting with the,
Yeah.
and then I did add, and I hope that's okay, under facilities management, it didn't have property. I did add, it said the materials, building, and equipment, but it did not say the property, which I think is a big part of it as well. So.
Good.
I really like how you reorganized this.
Mhm.
Much improved.
It's a little easier to read.
I think that will help too with the evaluation and all that kind of stuff, because it kind of goes along the same, you know,
Mhm.
lines of that too, so that's good.
Good job. Yes, and she did have this approved by 2 of us. So, anyway, good job, Laura.
Thank you.
We need a motion to accept.
Does this need to go to the attorney? Has that already been to the attorney, or we don't need to?
We don't
Because
need
it's so similar to one.
Yeah,
Okay.
the wording wasn't really changed.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. Move to approve?
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor of approving the job description for library director?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Good job.
Yes, good job.
Thank you, Laura.
New business. I actually have something. I was in here last week, and the sky was pretty darn dark, and we have no tornado shelter directional signage. So I would like to have, I think Sarah was looking into it, maybe Kathleen, about getting some signs. And the question was, well, if we're here, we can direct people. What if you're not there? What if you're already sheltering and there's no, somebody comes in, that we've got to have some signage for that.
What is it, the bathrooms?
Yeah, the 2 bathrooms.
Okay.
The public.
And I
That's
also
really
heard
really
it could be,
It could be, we do have, at each staff desk, there's an emergency binder that spells it out. And we did actually have a little drill a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
And it has a map of where to go, where the tornado. So we are supposed to, our policy is make sure everybody in the building is aware. We can't force anyone to go in, or we can't force them not to leave if they want to leave. But we do escort them, show them where to go. The staff does that. We don't.
Okay.
look at
but what
signs.
you're saying is, so the staff can't shelter until everybody in the building is taken care of?
They can. I would never tell them that they can't. But the policy is to at least let everybody know, hey, which is an easy thing to do, to just kind of shout
Right,
out.
but don't you think we still need signs? Or am I wrong?
I'll have to look into it and see. I'm not sure how that would be done. I can definitely look into it.
Okay, look into it, that would
Okay,
be great.
it might just be a, tornado sign with
Right.
something that
Mhm.
says.
Or even a
Shelter.
tornado sign outside the bathrooms,
Mhm.
Tornado shelter, I don't know.
Yeah. Mhm.
So can I make a recommendation that you look into that and come up with an idea and bring it back to the
Sure.
next time?
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, staff reports.
I have a question. Sarah mentioned purchasing a book repair machine. I'm just curious what that, like, how, is it like a big?
I'm actually not sure.
Or, okay.
I haven't seen it
I
yet.
don't know what that is, so I was
Yeah.
just curious.
Yeah.
I know it says that she's researching it, so I'm just curious.
I'm sure I'll see it once she wants to buy it, but I haven't seen it yet.
If it's not huge and terrible, I think it would be a great thing to demonstrate, you know.
It depends,
Yeah.
because if, depending on how much the machine costs,
Right.
generally the spines get broken on paperback books, sometimes hardcover, but mostly paperback. And paperbacks may be cheaper to replace than
Right.
to buy this machine, so
Okay.
it'll be something to look into.
Okay.
Plus you'd have to buy supplies, staff time,
Yep.
all of those things that go into that, so.
Well, good. I look
We'll
forward
see.
to
Yeah.
seeing more about that.
Any other questions or comments? Jay?
Oh, a question, what is the cryptids decrypted? Wasn't sure what that was.
Cryptids.
Cryptids
They're
decrypted
like
under Daniel's
fictional,
report?
like Bigfoot is a cryptid.
Okay, so it's a
aliens.
story grouping or something like that.
Fictional things.
Really? I've never heard that term either.
Yeah.
Verna, oh, go ahead. You
Yeah,
got
there's so
one?
much good stuff to comment on here. In Melissa's report, she talked about continuing the health at the senior center and the technology. Although maybe a lot of people aren't showing up, I think maybe word will spread, and they're always needing help with things. I was just trying to help my wife out there. Postpartum support group, kind of an interesting idea. That sounds like that's really taking off. In Fran's report, she talked about an 8-week program. I didn't know. We've got such a long program for this frog, Tales and Tales read time. It's interesting that a program would go on that long, and it must be really fun for the kids to come back every week or repetitively to do that. Jesse's program, he talked about a little eclipse get-together, had 20 people show up to look at the sun. It's interesting. Dial a story, 63 calls in the past couple of months. Seems to be going really well. Lori talked about the new second grade storytime kits, talking about language exploration with Spanish, natural disasters, and baking on page 66. And again, some interesting new programs I hadn't seen before. Lori also talked about on page 67 at the top about the Thrills and Chills short story writing contest. I think when you talk about literacy and getting children to read, the writing is also so important. So I know there was a program here, I think it was just last month, about publishing, self-publishing and things like that. Maybe that was for the older group, but it's really good to see this Thrills and Chills program for the younger people. And then Taylor talked about the bingo night was a big success, and the crafts and coffee was fun. I would encourage the staff to try to give us some numbers, like when they say something, hey, it's going really good. Was that 10? Was that 20? Was that 50? It's always good to see these programs and how they grow.
Well, Taylor ran out of supplies. She needs to add more supplies for bingo.
That's good. That's a good sign.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's good.
A lot of good
Verna,
things.
did you have anything?
Yeah, my favorite, Jesse's poetry readings. I look forward to that. That's really special.
And what was the edible poem? Do you know?
I think they used candy to, candy letters.
Oh, okay.
Poetry, and then they ate it.
Oh. That sounds
So all
fun.
the evidence is gone.
I had to laugh a little bit with the circulation surviving the eclipse classes.
Oh my gosh.
Every time you get along, they go, go to the library.
No.
Knowing full well that they were completely gone.
The next morning, our phones weren't working, and we thought it was because we got all those phone calls the day before. I said, did we run out of minutes?
What's going on? Oh, how funny. But thank you for doing that. I know that that's a big deal, to a lot of people, really across the country.
Oh, yes.
We were in Pennsylvania for the eclipse, and that's what my sister said. She got glasses from their library,
Oh, did you?
out there. So thank you for doing that. I know it's annoying, but
It's worth it.
it's worth it. That's right. Thank you.
So, Shauna, what is oral history? You conducted oral history. What's that?
So we received a grant a long time ago. We have all the equipment to do oral histories, and we've been promoting it for well over 9 months And so I grabbed the artist who did all the rug weaving, and I said, hey, would you tell us how you do it? So we videotaped her over at the Historical Society showing how they actually made the rugs and how she got involved into that process. So we have a really cool history of her explaining that. So that's what the oral history
Okay,
is.
thank you. And Fran, people are buying their own dulcimers now?
Yes, my dulcimer class is just awesome. I love my students, and 3 adults in particular, yes, they bought their own dulcimers, and I sent them to Clarkston, has the more advanced dulcimer classes, because I strictly teach the basics. And then I also got them in touch with going to every other Wednesday at the Ortonville Town Hall. They have jam sessions, they're called. And so they've really enjoyed that. And now they have they get together at each other's houses. But they were just so appreciative of getting to take the basics here. And they said, well, since we have our own dulcimers now and we're not taking up room or a space, for your limited, I have 5 dulcimers that I can have 5 students. Can we still come to your class? Because we just still want to come to your class and be able to play. And I said, sure. So it's been really, been a joy to me. And Nancy Bach, who's the one that gave me the 8 free lessons 6 years ago, and then gave me a dulcimer for my very own keep, and she gave me the 5 dulcimers for the classes. It's just really, she's so thrilled that the program is bringing new students to her and her group too. So it's just come a full circle, and it's been really fun.
I love that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anything else on staff reports? Anyone? Okay, we are at library statistics. Any comments? Thank you, Jesse. Sounds like he said he has fun doing this.
Who wouldn't?
Okay. Calendar review, we have nothing for May. How'd that happen?
Somebody did plan.
There'll be something. There'll be something. Okay, public comment.
Oh, I'll add something. Just
Of course you will.
The door counter was broken 2 weeks, of the numbers that are listed here in the statistics, the actual what the door counter said, or is that some amalgamated estimate of what you believe is a close enough estimate?
This is the actual number from the door counter. So it was out, I don't think it would have affected March. So, yeah.
It did not affect.
It did not affect, yeah, I don't think it
Back to
would.
April.
So it won't show until next month's
All right.
statistics.
As-
So it might be a little low next month.
As the statistics guy, I'll tell you that when you're looking back at the statistics, you'll want to know roughly what you thought it was. Even, it's less important that you honor the door counter itself, and more important that you put in there what you think it is. If you have to extrapolate or whatever to give it a good guess. Because
Average.
when you're looking at trending over time, sure, the month's a little off. Put an asterisk, say quasi-estimated because of.
Okay.
But that's
a good
that's
idea.
that's my public comment for today.
Thank you.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay. Items on hold? Have we taken care of everything?
Everything is caught up.
Gee. Items for next agenda?
We'll have the approval of the evaluation questions.
Okay. Anything else? Will we be bringing policy at that time?
Hopefully, we will have the capital asset policy ready. And the policy committee will be meeting on that once we get it back from Cambridge. And then there's the public comment policy that the policy committee is going to look at as well.
We'll do that in the same meeting?
Yes.
think we'll have our first capital expenditure budget as well.
Okay. Could it be? Any other comments, questions? I believe we're ready to adjourn at 5:45. Even with the audits. We'll take it. Yeah. Okay, thank you, everybody.
And would you like the feedback on those questions 5?
Within the next week or two is probably good. That'll give me some time to put things together. We are adjourned.